story of an adorable little girl and her adorable little pet just trying to get home before wicked forces take them.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Once upon a time, and that time was specifically 2022, in the magical land of Shasta County, California, a little girl brought her little goat to the Shasta County Fair. The goat was bought by a wicked California state senator who wanted to eat it. The little girl decided she was going to save her little goat because she didn't want it to be eaten. But the wicked Shasta County Fair was like,
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little goat, too.
except actually they just said the part about we'll get the little goat. So the little girl took the little goat to a sanctuary where it would be safe and protected, and they all lived happily ever after. Totally kidding. Shasta County decided that the girl withdrawing her goat from the livestock auction after sale was an act of theft. So they sent deputies 500 miles to seize the goat from the sanctuary, which they did, and it was subsequently slaughtered. The little girl's mother sued the fair, and this became a news story here in the year of our Lord 2023. And if the tweets and TikTok comments are any indication, the internet lost its collective mind, which isn't a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. Before we dig into my problems with this fairy tale, I want to be super clear that I love that this story is capturing public attention, and I have nothing but respect and compassion for the goat, the girl, her mother, and their lawsuit. Wanting to save that goat took a lot of heart.
That I could be kinda human if I only had a heart.
All the headlines focus on this goat in position to this little girl, which makes perfect sense. That's what makes this story unique. But a lot of these headlines refer to Cedar as her pet goat, which wasn't entirely true. Perhaps the most egregiously misleading of these is, I gave my pet goat to the local fair and they put it on the barbecue. That makes it sound like this little girl entered her baby goat into like the prettiest pet competition and someone just grabbed it and chucked it on the grill. No, the little girl was caring for Cedar through a 4-H program where children raise animals to slaughter age so they gain an understanding of where meat comes from. She gained that understanding, decided she didn't like it, and wanted to save her goat from being killed. That said, let's strip away the human components and analyze it from an animal welfare perspective, because that's literally what I'm studying to do through the University of Edinburgh's Royal Veterinary School. When you take the girl out of the equation and focus on the goat, the public outcry becomes misplaced, let's say. This one goat, Cedar, was raised lovingly by a girl who cared about him. Pictures show him in good health. He has grass below his feet. That's not the quality of life that millions and millions and millions of animals in the intensive farming or factory farming system get. They don't get to feel grass or move around outside, or in some cases, move around at all. I would show you some pictures of what I'm talking about, but I think it would make you even more likely to close out of this video immediately, which, let's be real, is already a distinct possibility. I hope this whimsical fan is offsetting the horrors of factory farming. But feel free to search out pictures of factory farms if you want a visual aid to the point I'm making. Speaking of which, the point I'm making, according to this super cute little animated slaughter counter, 500 goats are killed around the world every 30 seconds. But they're not named Cedar. That doesn't make those goats any more or less capable of experiencing pain or emotion as Cedar was, but positioning Cedar the goat as the little girl's pet allows the public to connect with him and his slaughter in a way that gives that jolt of fun, self-righteous indignation that we all love to feel. How could they possibly slaughter that little girl's pet? That was her pet, says the mass of people between bites of our burgers and McRibs and chicken nuggets. It's the same principle behind why the American public at large seems horrified and disgusted by, for example, dog meat festivals in other countries, when if we want to see horrific acts of animal cruelty and meat trade,
you don't need to look any further than your own backyard. I was maybe gonna do this in an actual backyard, but Princess Leia Smallgana is really small, and I didn't want her to get snatched by a hawk, so just a plant.
Hi.
Now let's examine this issue from a scholarly perspective.
While my thoughts were busy hatching, if I only had a brain.
One of the very first things we did in my animal welfare science grad program was take a test on a website called Animal Ethics Dilemma, which is like a fun little BuzzFeed personality quiz. If BuzzFeed quizzes forced you to scrutinize your morality instead of telling you what Disney princess you are, I'm obviously baffled. I would say that the public despair over Cedar's slaughter is a good example of contractarian ethics. Contractarian ethics, as you might imagine from the name, sees ethics as a contract. And it's kind of a bad ethical position for animals because animals can't knowingly enter into any kind of societal contract. So they don't owe us any special treatment or consideration, but we don't owe them any either. Let's look at the language used in reporting Cedar's death.
A 9-year-old girl tried to save her beloved pet goat. The fair thought nothing of traumatizing a child. Young Shasta County girl did not view pet goat Cedar as meat.
And her view is what we care about. Her love for Cedar, her heartbreak that he was killed. There were presumably dozens of other goats in the livestock auction who were slaughtered. And that's fine. We don't have a societal contract with them. But we do have a societal contract with the little girl, which was broken when we slaughtered her goat. Basically, from the perspective of an animal rights ethic, we would say that it's bad to kill a puppy because the puppy in itself is deserving of life. But from the perspective of contractarian ethics, it's not necessarily inherently bad to kill a puppy. We don't have a societal contract with that puppy, but it's bad to kill that puppy if it belongs to John Wick, and it's going to break our societal contract with John Wick and make John Wick sad, and then maybe some other bad things happen. I haven't actually seen the movies, it just felt like an easy joke. Strangely, Cedar is somehow not the only cute animal given a name starting with CE pronounced like S to make the front page for being killed. There was also public outcry after the killing of Cecil the lion, which literally has its own Wikipedia page entitled Killing of Cecil the Lion.
If I were king of the forest.
The basic story is that an American dentist went trophy hunting in Zimbabwe, but oh no, the lion he killed was actually part of a monitoring program. Oh no, the lion was wearing a satellite tracking device. Oh no, the lion had a name. It was Cecil. That's another cute name, just like Cedar. There's a children's book called Cecil's Pride. There is a not children's book called The Life and Death of Cecil and the Future of Africa's Iconic Cats, and a documentary aired on National Geographic called Cecil, The Legacy of a King. People graffitied the home of the dentist who killed Cecil and placed placards on his business to get people to boycott it. Although in this case Cecil's death was notably painful, I would again argue that the vast majority of his life was almost unfathomably better than the life of any animal in the factory farming system.
So, why did killing this lion inspire art and vandalism and protests when millions of farmed animals are slaughtered every day?
I would say the public outcry in Cecil's case was less contractarian ethics and more relational ethics. That is, the relationship between our species and Cecil's species is perceived to be different than that between our species and others, such as livestock. Chickens are for eating. Cows are for eating. Lions are for admiring. Lions are majestic and pretty. They remind me of Aslan from the Chronicles of Narnia, and Aslan is Jesus, or cat Jesus, or furry Jesus. Another piece of the puzzle is that this was an instance of trophy hunting, and yes, that's its own complicated moral issue we can get into in a different video.
Add it to the list, Luke.
Add it to the list.
But the point here is that this is from a human perspective, and it doesn't actually matter to the animal itself. The lion doesn't know that it's being killed primarily for prestige and its mounted head any more than the cow knows that it's being killed for sustenance. We're able to ascribe that moral judgment, but it means nothing to the internal lived experience of the animal.
That internal experience is more or less the same across species, isn't it?
Do lions have greater emotional complexity than cows, who have been noted in scientific studies to have best friends whose companionship they seek out? Are they more deserving of life based on intelligence, when pigs are considered to be as smart as human toddlers and probably a lot smarter than a lot of our dogs whom we love? Or is it just that lions are pretty? Now, the takeaway from all of this could be, good point. If we don't care about those other billions of animals, then we really shouldn't care about Cedar the goat or Cecil the lion either. Which, okay, yes, that could be the takeaway, I guess, but please, please don't make that your takeaway from this.
She fell from the sky, she fell very far.
Here's what the other takeaway could be. If we can connect to the story of Cedar and understand that there was pain and suffering involved in his death, and that makes us feel sad, then maybe we can start thinking of the millions of nameless animals in the factory farming system as a whole bunch of Cedars. Like, you're having a burger, it's Cedar. You're having ribs, it's Cedar. You're having chicken nuggets, it's whatever. This time it's Cecil. I don't even care. It's like 12 little decapitated lions in a striped container, whatever. I think it's genuinely amazing that people are so up in arms over the death of this one goat. I also think it's a great example of human selfishness. We had to see human suffering before we cared about animal suffering. So I would challenge all of us to learn the same lesson that that little girl did.
She was given an animal to raise to learn where we get our meat from, and she learned that her meat was a thinking, feeling creature, and she didn't want it to die.
Even if you're not interested in going vegetarian or vegan, you can just take steps to reduce your meat consumption somewhat, or even just find out exactly where your meat comes from and whether or not you're supporting factory farms with your purchases. I do recommend you take the quiz at the website aedilemma.net. I have no personal association with them, and if you were moved by the story of Cedar, you can always throw a few bucks towards a sanctuary for farmed animals who did successfully avoid slaughter. I can drop links in the description. Even if you do absolutely none of that, thank you so much for listening to this. I really genuinely appreciate it. And I know Cedar and Cecil would too. Just kidding. No, they wouldn't. The entire point of this video is that animals don't care or understand public perception of them. That doesn't affect their lived internal experience. They don't give a fuck.
She fell from the sky, she fell very far, and Kansas, she says, is the name.
Oh, also, turns out that the wicked California state senator was a total red herring. He has like nothing to do with this story. He was more or less some guy like buying a burger, and when the girl was like, I want to keep the goat, he was like, you can have the goat, just give me a refund. So like the only reason anyone is talking about him is because he happens to be a California state senator, and that's just really funny to me.
I were king of the forest.